welcome to Tuesdays with the Pilgrim, as we continue our journey with Christian, from the book Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. Today we continue with Chapter 4, Parts 4, 5, and 6. Part 4. Christian loses the scroll at the pleasant arbor. After this I looked for Christian, and saw him going up the hill. I could see his pace slow from running to walking, and then from walking to crawling on his hands and knees, because the hill was so steep. Now about halfway up the hill was a pleasant arbor, a resting place made by the Lord of the hill to refresh weary travelers. When Christian got there, he sat down to rest. Then he pulled out his scroll from where he kept it hidden in his coat next to his heart. He read from it for encouragement. He also looked over the bright new garments that were given to him when he stood at the cross. After relaxing for a while, he began to doze, and was soon fast asleep. He was detained by his sleep until almost nightfall, and as he slept, the scroll fell out of his hand. As he was sleeping, someone came and woke him up, saying, "Take a lesson from the ants, you lazy fellow. Learn from their ways and be wise." Upon hearing this, Christian suddenly leapt up and hurried on his way, traveling swiftly until he came to the top of the hill. Part 5. Responding to fear. Now when he had reached the top, 2 men came running up hurriedly to meet him. The name of one was Timorous, and the other Mistrust. Christian asked, "Sirs, what is the matter? You are running the wrong way." Timorous answered that they had been going to the city of Zion, and had gotten past this difficult place. "But," he said, "the farther we go, the more danger we meet. Therefore we have turned around and are going back again." "Yes," said Mistrust, "for just ahead of us we saw a couple of lions lying in the way. We don't know whether they are asleep or awake, but we couldn't help but think that if we came within their reach, they would immediately tear us to pieces." "You are scaring me," said Christian, "but where shall I run for safety? For if I go back to my own country, which is awaiting fire and brimstone, I will certainly perish there. If I can get to the celestial city, I am sure to find safety there. I must take the risk. To go back is nothing but death. To go forward is fear of death, but beyond that lies everlasting life. I will continue to go forward." So Mistrust and Timorous ran down the hill, and Christian went on his way, reflecting on what he had heard from the men. However, he felt a need to find comfort by reading his scroll. He reached into his coat to find the scroll, but it was gone. At this, Christian became deeply distressed, and didn't know what to do. He knew that he needed the scroll for encouragement, and also to use as his path into the celestial city. Part 6. Recovering the scroll. Finally, after much turmoil and confusion, he remembered that he had fallen asleep at the pleasant arbor on the side of the hill. He fell down on his knees and asked God to forgive him for his foolishness. Then he started back to look for his scroll. But who could sufficiently express the sorrow in Christian's heart as he journeyed all the way back? Sometimes he sighed, sometimes he cried, and often he chided himself for being so foolish as to fall asleep in the place that was erected only for a little refreshment from his weariness. So he returned, searching carefully all along the way, on this side and that, hoping to find the scroll that had been such a comfort to him so many times on his journey. He traveled in this way until once again he came within sight of the arbor where he had rested and fallen asleep. But the sight of it compounded his sorrow by reminding him again of the evil of his sleeping. He therefore expressed deep regret for his sinful sleep, saying, "Oh, what a wretched man I am, that I could sleep in the daytime, and that I could sleep in the midst of difficulty. How could I so indulge myself as to use that rest to give me ease, when the Lord of the hill erected it only for reviving the spirits of pilgrims? How many steps I have taken in vain! It happened like this to Israel. Because of their sin, they were sent back again by the way of the Red Sea. And I am now forced to tread these steps sorrowfully 3 times, when I should have happily walked them only once. How far might I have been on my way by this time? But now I am likely to be overtaken by nightfall, for the day is almost gone. Oh, that I had not slept! Now by this time he had come to the arbor again, where he sat down and wept for a while. But finally, while looking under a bench, Christian's hopes were realized. He spotted his scroll. When he saw it, he hastily grabbed it with trembling hands. How can one describe how joyful Christian was when he had found his scroll again? For this scroll gave him the assurance of eternal life, and meant acceptance into the celestial city. Therefore he held it close to his heart and gave thanks to God for directing his eyes to the place where it lay. Then with joy and tears he committed himself once again to his journey, and oh, how swiftly he went up the rest of the hill. Yet before he reached the top of the hill, the sun went down on Christian. This made him again remember the stupidity of his slumbering, and once more he began to lament. Oh, you sinful sleep! Because of you I will probably have to travel at night. I must walk without the sun, and with only darkness covering the path for my feet. I will have to listen to the sounds of the sad creatures of the night. All this because of my sinful sleep. Then he remembered the story that Mistrust and Timorous had told him, how they were frightened by the sight of the lions. He thought, these beasts roam about in the night for their prey, and if they should meet up with me in the dark, how would I be able to get them out of my way? How would I escape being torn to pieces by them? He walked on in this way, but while he was still lamenting his foolish mistake, he looked up and saw a stately palace ahead of him beside the highway. Its name was Beautiful. Part 7. Facing the lions in the way. So I saw in my dream that Christian moved quickly toward it, hoping to find lodging there. Before he had gone far, he entered a narrow pass, which was about 200 yards from the gatekeeper's lodge. But then he saw 2 lions in the way. Now, he thought, I can see the dangers that drove Mistrust and Timorous away. The lions were chained, but Christian was unable to see this. He became very frightened and considered turning back to catch up with the others, for all he could see was death lurking in front of him. But the gatekeeper at the lodge, whose name was Watchful, perceived that Christian had come to a halt, as if he would turn back. Calling to him, Watchful said, Are you so weak and timid? Don't be afraid of the lions, for they are chained, and have been placed there for a test of faith, to distinguish those who have it from those who do not. Keep to the middle of the path, and you will not be hurt. Difficult is behind, fear is before. He is now up the hill, but the lions do roar. A Christian is never for long at ease. When one fright's gone, another him will seize. Then I saw that Christian moved on, trembling in fear of the lions, but heeding Watchful's advice. The lions jumped up and roared, but they did him no harm. After this experience, Christian clapped his hands for joy and walked on. And that's the end of Part 7 and Chapter 4. So next week we will pick up with Chapter 5, and that starts, Part 1 is Received at the Palace Beautiful. So I hope you'll tune in then as we continue our journey. Until then, take care, stay safe.